You're looking at a typical theatrical rehearsal studio that is one of many scattered around Midtown Manhattan where Broadway musicals hold auditions. You might assume that this is the room where stars get discovered or a chorus dancer lands a big break. But it's also the room where actors are told things like, "We're not looking for heavy character actresses," or "You're not fat enough to be our fat girl," or "Dance like a man, butch it up." And it's also the room you might not even have access to because you are deaf or hard of hearing, or you use a wheelchair to get around, and the casting notice did not specify that you were welcome to attend. You've probably heard of or thought about casting mostly when it pertains to issues around race and ethnicity, which tend to get the most attention from both scholars and the press. My research reframes the study of casting to focus on bodies, always inclusive of race and ethnicity, but specifically centered on questions of ability, gender, sexuality, and size. Musicals make meaning through their performance of difference. Which identities are represented on stage and how reveals which are valued. Embodied differences are profoundly tied to an actor's employability. When an actor enters that room, they put their body on the line. Do they have a Broadway body or not? Casting necessarily depends upon disqualifying people, often based upon their appearance. During my own career as a dancer, my height was often the barrier to getting hired. The politics of casting gripped me because they are complicit in enforcing a system of bodily norms shaping how we all perceive difference. Musicals gripped me because song and dance complicate the performance of identity even as they proclaim it in anthems like "I am what I am" or "I am changing." Broadway's relationship to non-normative bodies has been and remains at best ambivalent. Consider that the only contemporary Broadway musicals with fat female characters as romantic leads are Dreamgirls and Hairspray, and that both of these productions used fat suits for the actors cast in those leading roles. Only 2 Broadway musicals have cast deaf and hard of hearing actors, revivals of Big River and Spring Awakening, both from Los Angeles' Deaf West Theater. And Ali Stroker remains the Broadway musical's only performer who uses a wheelchair for mobility. Broadway's history of casting straight men as gay characters and subsequently applauding their bravery exemplifies the industry's ultimate ambivalence towards identity. The Broadway musical's appearance of inclusivity is ultimately just a performance designed to sell tickets. The aesthetics of disqualification used in casting reenact those of US society at large. The identities that I study and the social movements formed around them are forged upon histories of stigmatization and exclusion that extend far beyond the stage. The way all of our bodies look and act plays a part in determining how we are employed off stage as well, which is seen in persistent employment and pay gaps for women, people of color, the deaf, people with disabilities, fat people, and for LGBTQ communities. In focusing on casting as a labor practice and a site of power relations, my research asks you to consider whose bodies are cast and whose are cast aside. Thank you.